Good viewer, you are watching Xirtus. This is because Xirtus makes you feel good, makes you feel fulfilled. You are enjoying this. You will continue to watch Xirtus for a long time to come. You want to subscribe to Xirtus, and you will. You will like and subscribe and share. You will tell your friends. Tell your friends about Xirtus. Your friends will come to like Xirtus, much as you are liking this right now, as we speak. Thank you for subscribing to Xirtus. See, that was easy.
I don't know what I can add. I don't know what you're looking for, but I trust your judgment. I'm in your hands, man.
That's perfect. Whoa, I like this meme a lot, by the way. This one's cool. Did you post this one already? I haven't even seen this one. I like this. Conscious and conscious and conscious. Wow, this is very cool.
Love can fool you, hate can make you blind. Affections cloud your judgments. If you make decisions when you're happy or sad, you can never be right. Listen now to my advice, the recipe for better life. And follow your heart, it might only let you down. Follow only reason, emotions lead to treason. And only one thing will never let you down. But believe in yourself, believe in the reasons that you have laid out in the argument that will last forever.
So this one was a cool one. This is a cool one, Raph, because you were like, hey, you should do a thing with Dave, Flat Earth Dave. And I was like, I did a thing with Flat Earth Dave. And so I want to tell you this story because like no one knows this. I think a few people have seen this, but not enough people have seen this, in my opinion. And so, I mean, no, it's a few people. Maverick Epistemology of Perception was the title, so as not to upset the YouTube censors. But what the episode was about was we got a bunch of the APM kids and we got some people, you know, like Eugenie, like who are like deep in it. Shout out to Eugenie. And we had a conspiracy music guru, and we took some philosophers, and instead of debating, right, like a straw man debate, we had a steel man where it was like Fight Club. I was like, I want you to get in a debate and lose. You know what I mean? Like I want the philosopher students to try to get something out of flat earth epistemology, right? And that was kind of the point. It was an interesting debate because most debates I'd seen up to that point, like Professor Dave Explains with Flat Earth Dave, were just trash talking Flat Earth Dave. Like they just don't like Dave Weiss, right? So they don't really give him a shot. And so this was probably, I felt like one of the more interesting docs because these are all people who don't believe in this, that are listening to this guy talk, and they're not interrupting him and just saying that's ridiculous. And they're trying to figure out ways that emotionally they can appeal to his reasoning, right? Or logically even. So I would recommend watching Maverick Epistemology of Perception, APM Advanced Philosophy Means episode 004. Yeah, I would.
Thank you. And actually, if you go to, first of all, welcome everyone. This is Neuropa. And we have a link list once again, which we'll gladly share. And this time, for some reason, I mean, for a good reason, there's so many things related to the whole Earth shape thing, but we can start wherever we like, maybe with the, well, there's no easier topics, I think, but other topics as well.
Let's go in a line. Hold on, I'll just start clicking on links and opening tabs. My favorite thing to do. Why don't you like read the titles as we go through it? So today we've got Frequency Exposed. Ash, you got to read it. It's in German, bro. Die schlimmste Esoterik-Firma Deutschlands.
Oh, you're doing a pretty good job. So what I want to start with is just frequency-based stuff. I mean, you've had on, you know, Rife Technologies and had many discussions. I mentioned different devices before. And here I just want to point out, you can open the very first link if you like. It's just a documentary on one of these, I guess, German high-profile YouTube channels. I'm not sure if it is as official in America. I guess you have NPR and stuff like that, or you have these foundations. in
Dang, bro, you went hard. There's links all. You got links galore. I'm gonna run out of memory on my tab.
Don't need to open everything at once.
All right. That's weird for me though. I like to do that. Okay.
I understand. Need a few more gigabytes of RAM or terabytes to do that.
I'm just also processing AI art in the background. I didn't anticipate it. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, this may be part of it. So why I brought this up is because we had Klaus on from Healing Imbalanced together with George, where we talked about, the type of frequency waves you have and the type of things you can do with frequencies. You've had different people on. And here, what's very strange or interesting is that this, let's say, very high-profile channel simply is doing a hit piece, let's say, on one company that supposedly also uses frequency tech. In this case, I have to say I haven't looked in detail into the technology as to whether or not they are, the fraud or whatever they are supposed to be presented as. However, of course, the basic message, I guess, that remains with too many people watching this would be something along the lines of, oh, there is one company that's potentially scamming people or not delivering. This means the whole area must be a scam. So just to point out, even in Germany, they love doing these things, but I guess you're used to these kind of hit pieces. It's not even showing anything for you, so it's just a black screen, but
weird. What's going on?
I don't know what's going on.
I think it's my memory. That's why. Yeah.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So wait, this chip though? What's this chip for?
No, so I don't know what I forgot already because I watched this some time ago, like these 3 months when it came out. But basically they're saying, yeah, there's something that's not properly done. And I have to say, even from like a smaller German company that I know a little bit better, they also recently made, actually it's the very next video, the next tab, if you want to open the next tab.
Okay.
So this is in this case, all I can say is I know it a bit more because I know individuals that are in partnership or have been in partnership with this guy. And anyhow, what he's saying or claiming here, everyone has to verify themselves, is simply the idea that certain individuals then are copying certain technologies. And also, aside, let's say, from the base tech, which is supposed to be, like these Tesla-Lakowski multi-wave oscillators and so on, he's simply showing that this one company that now split off, apparently also, if that's true, is simply selling devices that cannot possibly deliver what they are supposed to deliver, but is charging many hundreds of dollars for it, or euros. So what I just want to point out here, as in so many different areas, one has to be incredibly careful and exact in terms of which technology can do what is useful for me and what is actually a good deal, because you have many individuals or companies that are potentially delivering subpar quality or ineffective technology, and then potentially give a whole area a bad rap, just as if, let's say you have 10 doctors, and let's say only one is ever giving a bad treatment, and then 10 doctors practicing the same area of expertise get a bad rap or something, So yeah, this is the thing he's showing, because this basically, you would even be able to understand this. This is just some kind of a quartz crystal or something, and this is supposedly able to harmonize your the electricity in your house or something like that, which it simply appears with this type of level of technology you cannot do. And it's only like, this is really just like a $5 thing. That's the other thing. If I'm like, okay, I'm buying it, it has a nice logo on it and it's $50. Okay, it's still overpriced piece that does nothing, but maybe gives me a nice feeling. But in this case, if it's, so heavily overcharged and it's just a complete false promise, it's not good, especially because from what I understand, there are different technologies, of shielding or whatever you want to achieve that you can verify, and people should rather invest in that, but again, nothing new, this type of business practices, but especially in this
effects, though, yeah. I don't know. Well, it's interesting also because in China, people do like make fake things or everything. But a lot of time, because things get manufactured in China anyway, what will happen is they'll say, okay, but the factory is not allowed to run 12 hours a day because that's like crimes against humanity. And so China will shut down that factory for 12 hours a day. But the people running the factory aren't going to shut down the factory. So what they do is they build a puppet shell company, and then they continue running the factory for those 12 hours. In fact, they'll like make rules that they can only work for 8 hours, right? So then they can do 14, 16 hours or whatever they want to do, working on gray versions of the same product. The product comes through, They might stamp a different logo on it. They might not, right? But I've seen this a million ways to Sunday since like for the last 20 years. These companies in Silicon Valley will come up with some prototypical design, and then I'll go look on Alibaba to see if I can find like the ripoff of it. And it always is, right? Like within like a week or less, you know?
Yes, I mean, this is
that doesn't mean it's bad. Sometimes that stuff is just as good, right?
Well, could be. Only thing is that, especially with frequency technology, it's a
There's no incentive.
particular. There is no what?
There's no incentive. Like if there's no reason that you have to do it right, your company can fly by night and disappear. The only reason you're going to do it is you have a track record as a company, or if there's like an oversight commission. There's no one saying there's like qualitative metrics.
The problem is that because it's kind of a fringe thing. So on the one hand, let's say an ignorant mainstream can just wholesale attack the whole area of research, yeah, and then just muddy the waters and make it very difficult to discern which technology, very simply put, what are the actual technical measurements, what are the real testimonials, what are effects you can actually measure, what are the differences. It just makes it difficult because, and this relates to something else, and it should be the third link, even if I did everything right. Oh no, that's the Electrodome. And then we have, that's actually a bit farther below. Give me a second. Yeah, right. So I'm sending the link right here. We already played it on YouTube, so it should be fine. Let me copy this to the private chat. So this is something interesting. This is recommended to me, something harp related. It's like a short documentary about this Turnbull Canyon and some kind of harp device and strange things going on. I just wanted to share it because it was, yes. Oh yeah, and also about weather modification, basically. So supposedly already back then, somebody experimenting with these things and also referencing Tesla and wireless transmission of energy. And actually, why I'm bringing this up, I put the link in the private chat, so you don't have to search it. This is kind of one of the things where this seems to tie together a little bit. I guess you've seen her, and maybe I've even already shown something of her. Sabrina Wallace is her name. The website is scienergy.com, but doesn't really contain a lot of information. Have you seen her before and what she's talking about?
I don't remember. I don't think so.
So basically, she's talking about something she calls wide body area network. And okay, here you have maybe even whatever says Nephilim up there or something in terms of maybe tying different ideas and models together. However, on base terms, what she speaks of and seems to have at least some knowledge of is basic networking technology and the idea of something she calls the biofield. And then the idea basically how it could already be possible to, let's just say, interface with humans through different technologies. I have not verified the various claims yet. However, at least some of the core documents she's referencing seem to be real documents and do exist. And if we understand the level of, how should I say, advancement of technology, I could imagine there's something to what she's talking about here. And just why I'm bringing it up, because independently, this seems to have gone around a lot now recently. Again, you see this is May 18th. And from different individuals, I received messages like, oh, what do you think about this? What's going on here? I had heard about her stuff already 9 months ago, or no, actually longer, sometime during the whole sea crisis. Yeah, maybe when you have some time, worth checking out, because she says, yes, referencing these guides and so on, and basically building her case that I can't even say how far her claims go exactly, but what I like about it is the idea that she's integrating the concept of a biofield, even to have make people aware that this exists. And actually what I want to point out is, regardless of how correct she is with anything she says in terms of potential weapon systems or surveillance systems or whatever that could exist, it is very obvious that the idea of bioelectricity and biostatic and the body as an electric system is deliberately being completely kept out of the limelight for the mainstream. Is at least my impression. Would you agree with that assessment? So it's like, oh, your body, you have this and that, but don't worry about any EMF, and don't even think about anything. Don't think there's cell voltage in your body or anything. So it just seems whatever there could or could not be, it would be an ideal attack vector, because most of the population is completely ignorant and wouldn't consider twice you know,
And it's
living
considered
next to a
busy. It's just a
tower.
busy. They're thinking it's like talking in a loud room. Yeah, there's so many signals that they're like, well, you know, which one could it be?
How do you mean?
Well, just everything all the time, everywhere. There's constantly there's all EMF everywhere. So it's just hard for them to be like, okay, well, this one, you know, you can't really. It'd be like if you're in a room filled with bullets in every direction, and like, how can you tell which bullet was mine? You know, kind of a thing.
Yeah, well, that, but also just generally that people don't seem to just think about electricity in relationship to their bodies. Yeah, and even just the idea. I mean, at some point, people said, "Don't sit in front of the microwave" or something. And then, of course, if you have different types of potentially irradiating frequency, and it's slowly being turned up because of advancements in mobile technology, for example.
En passant, do you if you're on Minds, do you like, is there a way to stream this directly to Minds? I should ask Bill Ottman about that, because that would be really cool. Actually, I would be happy to stream into the Minds platform directly. You know about Minds, right, Raf?
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like that would probably be a good community for this. That's true. But I don't know. I think the idea that EMF is being like, it's hard to say that it's that. I don't know. I would like to hear more. Let's go on to the next video first before I think about EMF more. Is this also, this is the weather part?
Yeah, so I just wanted to bring up, like, this seems to be one of the early weather modification machines or something. Maybe even related with HARP, related with Tesla, according to the story. I just listened to it. I can't say much more about it.
What did they tell you? What was the story of the Electrodome?
Well, basically just this guy inventing it, and apparently even back then being able to some extent to modify the weather, and also that this whole Whittier area maybe related with some HARP and some other very strange things. I don't have the comments on hold right now, but there were a few. It seems like this Whittier place overall is interesting to check out.
Did they explain what happened to these things? Like, where did this guy's towers go? Why these days you've got, you know.
Well, they just brought up the quote because the guy who does this even said there's nobody alive now anymore who remembers the story or who witnessed it. So he only brought like at least the quotes where, who was the famous electrical guy back then or investor?
Edison?
Maybe, and basically just say, you know, this whole idea of, oh, not on my dime, you're gonna transmit electricity wirelessly. So
JP Morgan. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, I think that's the thing, is like electricity is already everywhere. That's kind of the point of that EMF issue. So the idea that all of these transceivers are affecting the weather, you know, that's something I wish more people were pursuing, studying. I feel like there probably are studies on that, but a lot of the time they're probably commissioned by companies that are trying to disprove that they're causing any effects to the weather. So. But yeah, I mean, the likelihood that EMF is moving particles, like waves moving particles, is just it's just practical sense. So of course we're seeing via, you know, we've talked about the VLF band, very low frequency band, nuclear belt. There's a nuclear belt because of nuclear particles that have been radiated particles, and then they're pushed up by the bouncing EMF bands, because the way like it works, right? Like with the long waves bounce really high off the firmament and then hit the ground and then go back up and down. So when they're hitting, or off the Van Allen belt, whatever you want to say, either way, they're bouncing so hard that they bounce down and then they push back up. And a lot of the time the stuff doesn't come down because it's such ultralight particles and they're radiated, that they stay up in the stratosphere. So you have this kind of stratospheric tethering of a nuclear belt, right, of like highly radiated particles that are created by this.
Well, pretty cool. I would actually, I love more studies on this, because the only thing I had heard, maybe it was for America or even Germany, that there is a strange pattern in terms of studies for or against EMF. And if people only look at that, it's highly suspicious. And I'm not even saying anybody should be afraid of it, but people certainly should know more about it. So here, just bringing up, as we interviewed Majid Abdelaziz, with the weather making machine, just to show that different people use this Riffian technology or Reichian technology in a different way to actually create a more harmonious weather. And it would only make sense, I guess, if you can use it to disturb it. If you do it properly and you know exactly what you're doing, you could use it to also harmonize the weather. They also like to call it acupuncture for the heavens.
This is our buddy, right? Didn't we? We did a video with this guy.
Yes,
Everyone should watch it.
With him and with his son, yes.
Yeah, this guy's awesome.
He's been doing this for many years. So, so just to point that out. And yeah, we can go on from the frequency stuff, I guess.
Yeah, we should revisit this though, I think at some point. It is really interesting, the work he's doing. I'd like to hear how that's going again, with his essentially weather and feeling and thought harmonization tools, which this is all stuff that would have been classified by the government for so long, and all of a sudden we're seeing it pop up in Europe and in Arabic countries.
Yes, quite popular on TikTok actually, and from what I saw recently, they even started building quite a few like small machines, which I guess then also are quite affordable, and maybe there would already be an update by now, or maybe we could even invite someone who has one of those, and then see what they say about it. I guess that'd be cool.
Oh man, what's all this? Is this about hockey? This is about hockey, isn't it?
Maybe, I'm not sure. We don't have to watch it. And actually, some who's more interested, because this topic we discussed quite thoroughly last Friday on Nachiketa's channel, where already I brought up this link. So even just maybe skip into the middle, because then I can remember what the particular point.
Anger at National Health Society or whatever.
Oh yeah, right. All right, I remember. So this is a very basic
trans woman's milk claims.
No, this is
what?
Just, I always love to bring up Mac Bitter Truth, because he's so funny when he talks. You heard him, right? With the Jamaican accent.
He speaks with a pigeon accent. Speaks in pigeon, yeah.
He is just pointing out the absurdity of a man's breast milk, and then because later on they even show, I guess, a supposedly trans man with like cans and cans.
Can men breastfeed?
Yeah, yes.
Men can breastfeed. It is not a common or easy process, but men do have milk ducts and some mammary tissue, as well as hormone, oxytocin, and prolactin that are needed for milk production. However, men lack the special lobules which are present in female breasts, and they need to stimulate their nipples with a breast pump for several months before they can lactate. Men usually breastfeed only in rare situations when the mother is unable to do so. This is a natural evolutionary thing. If your mother dies in pregnancy and you got to keep the baby alive, apparently it can be done, and that's not with hormones or anything else.
Yes, and that would make perfect sense in exactly the case you described. And anyhow, this is just funny because it shows the media report, and then you have them like stacked with milk, and you're like, yeah, sure, you really think. Oh, and what's also brought up is this apparently very famous case. It's almost too popular to talk about it, but it's important because it is this whole transhumanist idea of this one swimmer who suddenly decided that he was a woman, was not very successful, but then as a woman started winning everything, and just now I think again got demoted. I guess, I mean, on the high level it's also just a political ploy to make people angry or something, but on the face of it, of course, it's just very unfair, and I think very anti-feminist, but okay. Oh, you're muted, Andreas.
It's always for the best. I swear it is. It is. No, I mean, like, what did I say earlier about this? A few weeks ago, I think Colin Smith or whatever, Colin posted about that, and I said, "Hooray! Like now we can have women's sports again." You know what I mean? I feel like this is like a weird one. Like, no, like the only thing I remember people saying about women's sports before transgender things is that they didn't care about it and that they hated it and they were like, stop. This is like, I mean, like women doing sports is great. Like if women want to do sports, but the idea of like the women's sports being like a popular thing that people cared about and that were like all of a sudden people were like care about women's sports. It just seems so nonsensical to me. Like the people don't really care. They're just kind of anti-trans.
To offend everyone, but the idea of most type of currently popular sports being so popularized, funded, sponsored, and I want to know how often the books are cooked. I mean, it's completely ridiculous anyway. So I don't know if this makes a big difference then. But
I mean, no, a lot of sports are popular. I think a lot of people like, you know, like guys like each other. So there's like a reason why, you know, people want like have a emulated war battle. Like, and women like to do things. Like there's nothing wrong with doing sports, but like the idea that people are watching women for the same reason they watch men play sports is not really, I don't think, true. You know, I mean, people watch men play sports like for the same reason they watch cars drive in circles. You know, it's to crash. It's like to destroy things. It's like so that someone's eye flies out. I saw a guy's eye fly out of his face in a hockey game. You know what I mean? That's why I would go to a sports game. Like that's what a sport. That's what it is, right? I know you don't go to sports games, Raph. What do you even look at me like that for? Like that's
yeah. So here, this is because this has always been very suspicious to me, and this is not, you know, thoroughly researched or anything, but just a hunch I always had. I just sent you the link in private. Oldest football clubs, because of course also in Vienna you have, you know, the local clubs, and every of
these guys look like, you know, that meme about like the secret agents, like the deep state agents, like the guys in the shirts. What's that meme? Like deep state bros meme. Hold on. Where is it at? Like the Chads. I don't remember. You know, they're like in the tight shirts, bro. Whatever. There's like a meme where there's just dudes in like these tight shirts hanging around a barbecue. You know what I'm talking about? I don't know where it is.
Maybe. I mean, I know the Chad meme, but it
doesn't matter. I'll figure it out.
So anyhow, what's always been suspicious to me, you know, all these football clubs or whatever they're called, they love to put their date of foundation on their logo. And in Austria, you oftentimes have, you know, 1890 something, 1905 or whatever. And yeah, to me, it never really made sense, just as if this is like, where does this sport even come from? And if it's such a big thing, so basically without the idea of resets, I don't see how people wouldn't have played that earlier, or whatever supposed change would have occurred that suddenly people started playing these games. I mean, probably this whole Olympic array of games very much seems to be like a new world implantation, basically. But that's just my suspicion.
Yeah. I mean, you know, also I think it's like to train people to be more savage,
college sports. I mean, that's highly controlled environment, and I guess that's where much of this is kind of springing from, I guess, at least in the US. But yeah, anyhow, that's always been suspicious to me.
Yeah, it just seems like they're like the Mellon or Carnegie Mellon brothers, right? Like people that are trying to train people to be more violent or more capable of existing in a violent world, like because they're wealthy, or you know, so they want to make sure their kids have the edge, so they give them like this ability to do violence in team sports. But also the sports have changed a lot, right? Like they used to be a lot more violent, and they had no protection or anything like that, and people got like a lot more hurt. People get hit in the face with a baseball and die all the time, right?
Well, I'm sure, but when did they start with that? You know, I mean that. Yeah, I mean,
baseball. There's a good
civilization would have a sport where you, as the parents, then risk your child.
British people are wicked. Yeah. So like you watch the Ken Burns documentary on baseball with or without LSD, you can completely see this thing sober. But I don't know if I've ever done
thanks for the suggestion.
Just being honest, but like the baseball documentary is really interesting. Go back to it because you'll learn about how it was like what's the history, baseball, stickball history. Like people used to in Britain and in New England hit a ball around a, you know, empty, like where a building used to be. They would have this whole field there, that perfect square, make it into a diamond, and then they would hit the stick with the ball, and it was better than cricket. Like they liked it more than cricket. And so this evolved to be very popular in America, and the stick got to be a bigger stick. And then the game got to be like more and more Masonic and more intricate. And I mean, the whole point of also baseball is it's played in a field, and like this whole thing where everyone watches the field. And then after the game, everybody comes out onto the field from both sides and they all just talk in the field, right? Because people hang out in fields without indoor cooling. So I don't know. Baseball is amazing in a weird way, like that this existed.
But I mean, especially with baseball, isn't that like literally a square and compass from above or
Yeah,
something?
no, it's full on the most Masonic. It's beautiful. Like, hold on, baseball,
And isn't
Masonic.
baseball one of the most popular sports in Japan? Or am I dreaming about this? Or only in the animation?
There's a great story about that actually. But let's just look at this for a second. Yeah, like when you think about baseball, I mean, it is ultimately a ritual of Masonic proportions, and it's a merit-based system, right? And I don't know, I would tie it even to some other things too. Like you could look into the House of David baseball team, one of the most interesting cults in America or communes in America, which had a Disney. They built a amusement park as their Zion, right? But they also had a baseball team that played in the Negro leagues, even though they were white, because they had long hair. They weren't allowed to play with the Caucasians, so they played in the Negro leagues. But I mean, these guys were incredible, and baseball as a religious thing connected to this idea, as well. Like there's this kind of there's something pure about the three strikes and everything. Like all the symbolism in baseball is completely crazy. But wait, what did you say a second ago? Why did we bring up baseball? What was the point of that? I don't remember.
Well, the other thing I was asking about was Japan and baseball.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Japan. Okay, so when the Japanese lost the war, the American military was stationed around and there were baseball playing like army troops. This is the story.
Yeah, I already don't want to hear it. Again, it's only colonialism. I like everything everywhere.
It's better. It's better than just colonialism. This is worse. Worse than just colonialism. So the Japanese, having felt the embarrassment and humiliation of being, essentially usurped by this inferior power, picks up the baseball off the ground and looks at it and sees there's 360 stitches and there's the way it's shaped, and they take it apart and then they put it back together, and then they take it apart, put it back together like 100 times and make 100 baseballs. And that's like the beginning of when like they figured out they have to like learn our culture inside out. And the baseball is like the ultimate metaphor for how the Japanese are going to conquer us.
How the Japanese are going to conquer us? That part I didn't understand.
Because they've been through so much. And the reason that, there's an earlier part to this. The Japanese felt like they were so much better than everyone else already in the 16th, 17th century that they isolated themselves. And the product of that is that there were superior weapons and superior technologies invented by their inferior enemies, right? And so from that they had to do is then learn all the things that their enemies knew and master them and conquer those things in order to then conquer their enemies again, right? And this is early thinking. Like, I don't think Japan still thinks that way necessarily all the time. Maybe some parts of Japan do, and I hope they do. But I feel like they don't. I feel like they're pretty chill right now, unfortunately, But yeah, the idea of learning baseball to master what a baseball is, to master what, a baseball game is, like, it's all part of the process to master what it is to be American, and then also to master what microprocessors and computers and to American culture. But that leads to, I think, the Fish song, which is where they realize that what's lost in translation is replaced by something new that's found and created and is essentially Japanese. And I think that's also something they're realizing now. Like, they don't just have to be good at baseball.
Yeah, well, all I could recently think of is that I finally got, at least for myself, an explanation as to why the animation Neon Genesis Evangelion was so incredibly popular. Is because, I mean, obviously it's Kabbalistic apotheosis, but that's what it is, and we can stop right there. But this whole idea of man becoming God, and I was always like, why? And the story is so strange, and how can it be so crazy popular? So, yeah.
Because it's the truth. What about this one here?
Oh, yeah, so this one is good. I'm sure you've seen this before, no?
Well, it just froze on me. Come on, memory. Come on, memory man. All right. What happened? Did it go away? Is this a different video now? Oh, my God. Does anybody really listen to the words of the Red Hot Chili Peppers song Californication? Of course, considering that it was written almost 25 years ago. God, I remember the day it came out. I was watching the music video. Psychic SP from China, Spies from China. What? Little girls from Sweden dreams of silver screens quotation. It's the edge of the world and all of Western civilization. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you guys have been paying attention. Yeah, this was what it was like 25 years ago in California. Nothing's changed for us. The future is just more equally distributed to the rest of the world now. Celebrity skin on your chin. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, okay. So if you lived in LA, you lived in this.
It's going to be the final frontier.
But it's made in Hollywood basement. Cobain, can you hear the Spheres singing songs off the station to station? And Alderon's not too far away. It's Californication. The music video is great, too. Born and raised by those who praise control of the population. Yeah.
But yeah, as you say, in a certain way, it's only that the, how should I say, the plan proceeded. And now the whole world can have a little piece of California.
So it's true. I've been trying to tell people for years, like LA, bro. LA was already like the prototype for so long, and people in the rest of California hate LA and don't want to buy it. Like the thing is, people will. I remember going to Germany 25 years ago, and it'd be like, now 200 top hits from America. And I'm just like, why? Like, we don't listen to those. Why would you listen to those? And just this like constant pouring of Clockwork Orange of Americana into the rest of the world's media. And it was super crazy.
Oh yeah, but where did you see that? You said
in Germany, in Berlin.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. I mean, and again, if people don't realize it, at least in the 90s, 2000s, I mean, all the time, all the major cartoons, talk shows, formats of who's the best singer, who wants to be a millionaire, whatever, very oftentimes they're American formats, and they simply get exported and franchised to all over the world. And same with Germany.
But the American stuff is all British. So like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, The Office, every show you like started out as a British mind control show. So they like all the game shows, everything. It's all like the Tavistock Institute. So once they test it on the island, then they bring it to America. America's got a huge population of different people.
Island, yeah. How fitting.
Yeah, it is. And then after that, the rest of Europe can say like, oh, well, not all of America. Like, so Germans can be like, well, even if America doesn't understand David Hasselhoff, I understand David Hasselhoff. I think that's like the thing. A lot of people can say it doesn't matter if the rest of America doesn't love it. It is American. It's maybe just the best of Americans that love it. And so people can be like, okay, well, I love Go-Gurt. I love PepsiCo or Coca-Cola or whatever the heck, that is scary to me about how America works. Kind of cool though.
Yeah, anyhow, so I think most people don't realize how it's all copied over.
I think Raph's mustache is pretty good. If you give him just a little bit of that, that beeswax, and he got the curl going. A real question would be like, I'd like to see Raph with Noel and compare mustache, because Noel's mustache has really gotten pretty impressive. The way it twirls, just being honest.
Yeah, you're right. You need the wax, and then just keep doing like this.
I don't know. I like the big, heavy, like puffy, like I like that too. You don't have that, but I get that sometimes, and I kind of like that too. It's kind of wild. What about Nachiketa, our beautiful friend?
So here, actually, there was something else that came to my mind just in between. I wanted to show you. What was the last thing you showed? Can we go back? Can we go back in time, please?
Back in time. I listened, but I didn't understand the message. What history never told us? Tartarian
all right.
Wall.
Oh, we had the Californication.
Yeah, and then there was this.
Oh, it's okay. Let's just go on. It'll come back to me.
Okay.
Well, here, Tartarian Wall. This is just about which side is which. We can go where you want to go. This is just more Nosovsky interviews, because every time we're on stream now, I'm going to recommend this channel of Sergei Belaboa, who translated Nosovsky and Anatoly Fomenko's interviews. Many of those are from around, here you can see 2015, but especially these interviews, they're really easy to digest because they're made for radio, they're less than an hour, and it's it's really just amazing to hear from the original creators of the new chronology what they think and what frameworks they give. So I don't know where you're going now. You want to go in a some kind of an order, or because I'm not sure where you are right now. No, you don't.
Death to order. Viva chaos.
Now I know what kind of plugin we need. Just like a randomizer plugin, randomizer tab plugin for all the browsers. So you just click and then it throws up a random tab.
Here, I'll try to go back to the other side. I think I was starting at the wrong end of the things is a problem. What's this one? Heliocentric, so-called science, one world religion, robot police.
So not police, robot polisher. And so anyone who likes fun cut together videos, robot polisher makes a really great job, rising in popularity for good reason. So there is a whole lot of, let's say, earth-shaped discussion videos now. We don't need to discuss them in detail. And I love what you did, what you brought up at the beginning, in terms of it should be about at least, honest intellectual inquiry, then either, as you said, steel manning, refining your philosophy, your psychology, your understanding, being able to understand different belief systems, being able to understand different physical models and be able to discern for yourself which model is more likely to be accurate, or what evidence do I have for which model, so on and so forth, or against, can I verify, can I falsify, all of these things. There would be 100 million things to do, even if you have a, let's say, very accurate scientific method. However, what I then discovered, just as you mentioned, so oftentimes when these discussions happen, they very often combust into logical fallacies and ad hominems. And the one thing that I find I almost want to say worrying, let's say, is that very so often it seems, for some strange reason, maybe you have an explanation for this, Andreas, the pro-globe side seems to be more uptight, very quick to become condescending and like laughing and starting to character assassinate the other side.
And weirder than that, like, so because you just, like, the thing with Professor Dave, which always blows my mind, is he will start chanting like vain repetitions as the heathens do, right? But he'll just be doing his 9th grade science encyclopedia index page. He's like, this is the definition of that. That is the definition of that. And he'll just start like repeating it like he's doing a rosary. And it's just to not hear anything else. And it's just kind of weird, like, because it's this, I don't know. I just find it kind of interesting when I see that, because he's not taking in any of the information so that he can break it down. Even he's just saying that that's impossible because it's something else. It'd be like if you're like, well, here's an elephant, and he's like, I don't believe in pachyderms, so that can't be an elephant. It's like, well, nevertheless, even though pachyderms are not a thing, elephants are, so you're gonna have to deal with that. And he's like, but pachyderms aren't real. That's like a false term. It's like, okay, bro, but and then he just has to believe in, like, this is the thing, that's the thing. It's all right. I don't have a problem with people believing in something, but yeah, it's not a real debate. Whereas, David Weiss isn't, I don't know who this guy is also. Who's this, Whitsitt? I haven't actually seen Whitsitt's debate. Oh, wait, I know Whitsitt. That's crazy. What's up?
Yes, Whitsitt. And what I found so curious here is that the Quartering, who I initially knew through Odyssey, back in the dark ages, when also no one uploading there, and I was like, okay, something interesting, I'll watch it here and there, which is why I even know the Quartering exists. And was like, how curious, he's hosting a debate too. And you can just see, well, the pattern, again, even psychologically, seem to be repeating. And then something that maybe confirmed, let's just say, my bias. If you go forward 1 or 2 tabs, you can go one by one, the tabs, because there's just more of this type of presentations. Okay, this is just more robot polisher. In this case, showing... I mean, even here it's interesting because you have, with the robot polisher videos, very often, of course, is kind of made fun of and satirical, but they show direct quotes. So they show what people actually say. And then I found one, let's say, making fun of, I think, Dave Weiss video. And all they showed was, I think, something where Dave Weiss said, oh yeah, I'm a scammer, obviously as a joke, only used that 3 seconds and everything else was AI. So I was like, at least satirize something what somebody actually says, but here you can also kind of see the I don't know, dimming down of the content. This was a debate a few years back.
You know, like Dave doesn't pretend to be like some sort of a, you know, genius, but he does know as much as you could know from constantly being yelled at by all of these people that seem to think they know what they're talking about. And he's bothered to read, like, every time they say something, you know, he watches the recording again and again. He finds out what it is they're talking about. And, you know, so far I haven't seen him really come up against something he can't debunk or find a logical explanation for. And so I'm just saying, like, Dave's doing some nice stuff. His app is chill. If you want to just know about the idea, if you want to see the world through that model, just to understand what it's like, he's got an app that you can, you know, check out. I don't know. I think it's kind of funny that people treat him like he's like, I mean, he's not like a very effective scam artist if he's a scam artist. Like, as far as I can tell, he just seems like a guy who really wants to have a conversation about this. And it would be really fun for him if people heard him out and then, you know, corrected him, or he was able to help them see something that they misunderstood. Like, he's not necessarily gonna die if he found out something that he said was wrong. Like, I think a lot of these guys, like Professor Dave, man, like, he would lose it. If all of the stuff he found, think about it, like, all your life is built on this stuff, and it turned out, like, you start finding out, well, actually, we had to, like, kind of fudge the numbers because the Soviet Union was going to get, we had to do this and that. Eventually, he's going to be like, oh, man, I've been, like, what am I, like, it's going to be sad, because the more you put your faith into something that is material, like, the easier material is to destruct. Oh, well.
Yeah, so why I'm just frantically typing here is because I'd want to look up a debate which actually is a great one, done by Michael Zinn, maybe even one we've been on a show together. But it seems that episode got deleted or something. It's really strange, but I'll look at it for it again. It was with Dave Weiss. Flat Earth Dave. Yeah, here we have at least the 1 minute. Oh, here it is. Okay, here it is. Great, I can recommend it. So please open the link I'm sending you in the private chat right now, because this is a proper, I mean, not even debate, but this is a real conversation. Yeah. So Michael Zinn in this case would take the, well, let's say unknown stance or default globe understanding stance, and Dave Weiss obviously the flat Earth stance. But maybe you can open it up for a second. Yeah, yeah. Said it. Oh yeah, the memory.
These are the lost memories of 2024.
So first of all, Michael is always doing interesting shows on this channel, Live Stream of Consciousness, and this he already did a year ago or something. And you know, they just have a real conversation, and they try to understand each other and try to explain things, or of course in this case mostly Dave tries to explain things and the model.
What's Zinn believe, or what's he thinking about it?
Well, I would say at this point he just had the, I guess, how should I say, default belief that you get taught at school for you know, just not having dealt with it, but which is why he wanted to interview Flat Earth Dave, just to learn more about it, right? And this is the approach, I don't know, logically, scientifically, anything should be. And it's just so obvious how this, whatever the real story may be behind it, but how it is getting so deliberately emotionally charged, used for political reasons or whatever. And even I heard, maybe even from Dave, that even Obama brought up Flat Earth Society several times in his speeches. It's
early
like
on. So if you watch the Hindsight 2020 Alan Green documentary from Sync Book Press, you can see a lot of those clips. And really, it's interesting because he says the Flat Earth Society, and the Flat Earth Society is kind of a joke, right? Or isn't it kind of a government-run thing?
Yes,
it's not this. There's a Flat Earth.
It's like a
between like people believe in Flat Earth. Yeah,
it's a supposed straw man to basically have people get confused and then think all of these people are completely insane. Whereas, of course, you can never put one label or one idea and say, oh, the whole group is like that, first of all. But secondly, it seems from all the, I don't know, I guess more well-known or trusted people, proponents of alternative Earth-shaped
We don't have time for a Flat Earth Society debate. Yeah, that's a good one.
None of them subscribe to anything that this website says, from the conversations I listened to and from what I could gather. So, and why there is so much talk about this, maybe you can go to just the next link, then we can go through it, and it's all kind of related. So, but don't skip anything. Is there something? Maybe there was one before.
Go back, Tempe.
Okay, this is just more robot polisher. That's good. It's just, again, fun videos to watch. Highly recommended channel. Then here, this is interesting, because at some, maybe there was one of those debates, and someone recommended, said, oh, go look for mind shock, logical analysis. I was like, okay, whatever this could possibly be. I'm not sure if you ever stumbled across this channel. What this guy says he does is he's simply counting logical fallacies when people are debating. So whether it's ad hominems, appeal to authority, false equivalency, I don't have all of these stacked in my head. I just have a slight intuition as to when people start, saying strange things. But it's good, of course, to know these terms. And yeah, that's just interesting. I mean, I don't even know if is logic a value in itself. I guess most, not even computers, but most things wouldn't work without logic, or I guess even communication wouldn't work without.
We kind of talked about that yesterday a bit, because synchronicity seems like an offense to syllogism logic. So the idea of deductive reasoning and how people will make illogical synchronicities or coincidences, conclusions, and inferences. So for a long time, it was more important to focus on syllogism so that you didn't accidentally make illogical inferences. But now, because you can study the weights of inferences, you can find really subtle patterns. So I don't know if syllogisms are as important with the amount of data we're able to process today. But there are a lot of ones where you have to, this is exactly how AI thinks right now, because it's all men are mortal. Socrates is a man, therefore Socrates is mortal. But you could have illogical syllogisms, right? So would be, come on, give me one. The type of fallacy, give me one, man. An example. I don't know. They should have a good example. All humans are mortal. No humans are perfect. Some humans are healthy. Some humans are not old. If A, B, I don't know. I can't find an example. But you can think of essentially atoms are made out of carbon. Carbon lasts forever or something like that. So people could be immortal. There's all rabbits have fur. Some pets are rabbits. Some pets have fur. There should be a lot. I'm trying to find illogical fallacies. Hold on. I'm doing illogical syllogism. ChatGPT probably be a way to start with that. Give me a list of illogical syllogisms. All fish live in water. Dolphins live in water. Therefore, dolphins are fish. All birds can fly. Penguins cannot fly. Therefore, penguins are not birds. All cats have fur. Rabbits have fur. Therefore, rabbits are cats. All humans are mammals. All dogs are mammals. Therefore, all humans are dogs. And these are really good. Honestly, if you think about it, there is truth. There's weights, minor weights of truth to some of these. All roses are flowers. All daisies are flowers. Therefore, all roses are daisies. All squares are rectangles. All rectangles have four sides. Therefore, all squares are four sides. Well, I mean, that could be true, right? I don't know. I mean, yeah, illogical syllogisms still might end up finding something. You might be like, oh, well, all of, these people like this YouTube show. So there's something in common about them, right?
Yes. All right. So anyhow, I found this so interesting that someone is actually just counting fallacies. And that's just worth checking out if you want to. And there it looks, and again with the logical fallacies, it looks pretty bad for one side. I have to say, I'm sorry. And here, I don't know, did we bring this video up before? I was just I love it so much.
We definitely talk about this lady. This lady is.
I know we talked about her. I'm not sure if we had this one already. That now she says they scare her. But can you check again when this is from? How long?
This was a month ago. I think I saw part of it, but yeah, she talks about this is a great example of why we need to break through and give her the red pill, because she's aware. She's the problem with all this it would destroy so much of what I believe in everything.
Yeah, yes.
And it's whoa, lady.
Here, the birds aren't real, yeah.
And but she's saying the opposite too. She's
what she
this
does
reminds
well,
me of people.
She shows the graph the graph she shows is pretty accurate. I mean, it's the trends graph, but still. And she even mentions, a change in algorithm caused the interest to diminish, because before anyone, I mean, you could go into any rabbit hole and you would get the best suggestions from YouTube, which they fixed, It's a feature, not a bug.
It's a fixed game. Yeah.
But it's just pretty amazing. And I have to say, just like you, I think she's very sympathetic. And let's see how it goes.
God, I have people telling me every day that they'll send my channel to people, like the Midigwa chief, right? Like some people will be like, yeah, we tried sending your video to people, and then it says like, and they show a screenshot like this channel can't come up and all this stuff like that. Like people who've never heard of me. And I'm like, dude, I've got like 94,000 subscribers now. Like, this is crazy. Like, at what point do they have a problem shadow banning you? Like, where's the limit? Like, I'm just curious. Like, I'm going to keep pushing.
Who knows?
So
maybe
I'm going to find out.
You can even have 1 million subscribers and still only 1.2 million people can ever find you.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know what is the goal here, man?
You can have your million, but
dude,
no one else
do I have to drink Pepsi instead of Coke? What am I going to do? Whose soda do you have to suck down to get a job? All right.
So why I'm bringing all this up is because this is such a big talk the recent weeks. This whole debating people, because there have been a few debates a few years ago, but now it's getting big again. Also because of Will Duffy. So now we can go on.
Don't drink the soda. Thank you. Yeah, it was a really unusual day. Okay, this one here. Anyone remember that one morning when ChatGPT got tricked into actually telling the truth? I remember.
So
I was there that day.
Right. So this is just more along those lines. Apparently, when ChatGPT got jailbreaked through Dan, it gave basically answers that maybe partially some people that are proponents of this idea actually would give. I would love to know, let's say, the back-end logic of this, whether this is because this information is just what they found the most, or, because who gave this the valid value inside the system, even if it's behind the ChatGPT sensor.
Of course.
But also Dan has a certain data set. So I would love to see that, or the calculations that then eventually made it come up with that. Or if it was maybe prompted first with, you are now a flat earther and give me your best arguments. So I don't see the whole prompt, of course, right? So
yeah, it would be really convenient to set this up to make it happen. I could do it. But I mean, it's like, that's the problem without because
people then always pretend like, oh, it's coming from the AI. Oh, it's an oracle. Oh my God, now it's so amazing. But it's like, no, it's just a program, however it's programmed. But I just found it curious. But we can go on from this.
The masses are controlled through this method by perpetuating a false understanding of the world and limiting people's ability to think critically and question authority, by keeping people in the dark about the true shape and those in power are able to maintain their control and manipulate the population to their advantage. Well, it sounds like Metal Gear Solid. Bro Sanchez TV. Bro Sanchez. How you doing, bro?
Oh yeah, him I just never had heard of, and also apparently made interesting videos, and just bookmarked him because somebody in comments said, oh, no one's ever debating him on this topic because no one dares to. I don't know if that's true. I really can't say. I didn't watch much of his content.
What, Bro Sanchez?
Yes.
Well, we should talk to him. Sounds cool. Yeah, so he seems. If his numbers are anything to judge by, it looks like it's pretty easy to get shadow banned. Yeah, 2.7.
Yeah,
bro,
oh, yeah.
This is the future. Flying saucer.
Oh yeah, this I just wanted to bring up because I'm pretty sure this popularized the idea of UFOs, and as by now, I'm not believing any bit of popular culture anymore. I just wanted to bring that up. That's of course curious, and I guess that would have been, just around the Roswell incident or something.
Well, there's the Alexander Vager's discopter, right? In where is it? Discopter, 1944. So I would say the 1944 discopter might be even more, even earlier. So Vager's discopter idea was like, you would build cities out of these, and then you'd have little crafts that would, like, the cities would fly around themselves. Full on discopters.
I mean, isn't that what everyone's kind of But I mean, I want this. So.
Yeah, but that's 1944. So I mean, like, I think he gets the credit in America for like earliest discopter, even though he's Dutch. And so the likelihood of him getting that from Nimza and from Germany, and there being 19th century examples of that.
Nimza sounds like a
Nimza.
dish.
You know Nimza, right?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Delshow. Okay. Looniverse, and then Flatlined. Oh, that's a cute little pun.
Okay, so here this is like, I didn't watch it. This is like an 8-hour debunking flat Earth video.
Again, okay, look, if you spend 8 hours debunking flat Earth video, you need to stop taking so much Adderall, or maybe you need a different prescription medication entirely. Is all I'm saying. That's a long time to spend debunking flat Earth. I don't know. I mean, like, okay. I mean, break it up into some pieces, bro. Okay. All right. 8 hours? Jesus.
Yes, it's just for reference, but we can go on because the
287,000 views. So apparently there's like.
Yeah, no, this is the other thing. Didn't you realize?
We need to be breaking. We need to be exposing. We should do this. We should be doing exposing flat Earth lies.
Yes.
We gotta expose flat Earth lies. We gotta
expose Tartaria,
and expose anti-vaccines.
In a skirt and wear makeup, Andreas.
Oh,
and then,
cool. I probably look great in makeup. I mean, I imagine. Like, are you kidding me? I'm from California.
But this is how you get to the million. I think slowly we're starting to figure it out.
Oh my God.
And why I bring up all this Earth-shaped stuff is because now there's this guy, maybe you heard of him, Will Duffy. He has an interesting backstory, let's just say. And he did some interviews, even one with Nachiketa, which Nachiketa did, I think, a very great and neutral way. Here we're already somewhere else, Andreas.
Sorry.
We're somewhere in the...
But that guy's mustache, bro. That's a mustache right there. 1 second. Let's get look at that. Look at that. Sorry, where do you want me to go? What am I supposed to look up?
So I'm not sure if you already kind of like skipped over it now or not or something, but basically you have on the links Live with Will Duffy, for example. This is Nachiketa's interview, which I think was pretty well done.
I had that open somewhere. Hold on. Let me see.
Yes, you already had everything open, but it's here, Live with Will Duffy. So maybe people already have heard about this. It's a bit of a strange story. Will Duffy apparently, even I could find that link, was a Forbes.com contributing author or something. And now he's apparently a pastor. And what's the interesting thing is he has this website called Final Experiment, where he's lining up different interview guests. But the whole idea is to send 2 or 4 individuals to Antarctica and have them observe whether or not there's a 24-hour sun, because supposedly that would ultimately decide the shape of the Earth model, which for 100 reasons I can think of, there's a million more factors to verify before this could be said. So that in itself to me is a little bit strange. And also it seems, unfortunately, as if Will Duffy in his own mind is somewhat biased, so that he recently made videos very, very, let's say, anti-flat Earth.
Oh, that's perfect. So what you need to do
with theology, but listen to this just 1 second. But also interestingly enough, that he, because of something he saw in high school, was always skeptical of the Apollo missions.
Of course.
But then he did some research, and then he realized, yes, it's all as they said. This is a story I never ever heard before.
So this is the thing. I really want to go with him because, like, I will, if I have to lie to you and say that the world is a sphere so that I can go beyond the ice wall, I'm about ready to do it. You know what I mean? Like, if that's all it takes is I have to just like pretend that it's not true, and then I get to go there. Maybe is that what he's going to do? That's what it sounds like he's doing. Because he's going to like, well, the way we're going to prove it is we're going to go to Antarctica, to the main city, and I'm going to get to hang out, in like the pyramid under the ice wall.
But that's the problem. But that's the other
And then
problem.
I'll tell you it doesn't exist, right? That's what, like, cool.
Yeah,
no.
Like that would be
because
fun.
Because it's a lot.
I wouldn't put it past anyone, if they say they really want that, But the issue
Eugenie,
is,
we love you. Did you see that we shout you out? We literally cameoed you, Eugenie. We love you. At the beginning.
But the issue I'm having is, from what I understand, I mean, Dave Weiss, of course, brings good arguments. Brian Stavely also great arguments in terms of why there are many other factors, and obviously you cannot decide a shape, what you're standing on, by looking at some lights in the sky. But also the main issue simply is that they are going to a sanctioned location, basically. They're doing a trip. It's like taking a trip with what they call choreo tours, or what's the North Korean agency, you know? So I'm like, how do you expect to be able to do anything? I mean, I can put up a Copperfield show and show you whatever I want if I can exactly control where you're allowed to go. So that in itself is very, very strange to me. And yeah, I don't know, like there's
dude, he
all
wants
kinds
to.
of talk about
He's
this,
trying.
but
This guy's gonna be famous, or he's gonna be
yeah,
in
but the
charge
thing
of
is,
some.
but
New
the
world
thing,
order.
I mean,
Yeah.
maybe, but the thing is, have you seen, or have I brought this up before, the really great interview with Dave on Alex Jones with Eddie Bravo? Maybe I brought this up before. It's like super entertaining and really well done, I think. So definitely somehow, for whatever reason, the topic is raising in popularity or clickbait, or I don't know what's happening. Only the past few months.
Eugenie says to get a session with him. Let's talk to Will Duffy. Let's get it going. We'll talk to the guy. I mean,
yes,
I have the East German exchange student who I grew up with visiting right now, and it's interesting because he like lives in Dresden, and he was very like East Germany collapses, then Europe starts to collapse. So he's just now, and he's known I've been doing like conspiracy stuff or like synchromysticism stuff or whatever. He's just now starting to disbelieve in everything, and like he high-fived me when he found out I wasn't vaccinated in front of my mom. He like stood up. He's like, yeah. So like this is good future for a lot of people. But I asked him, I was like, yeah, like by the like we were talking about some stuff, and I randomly was like, oh yeah, by the way, like about like the moon landing, right? Like that's bullshit. Like that, right? Like, and he's like, oh well, I hadn't really thought about it, but I'm starting to realize that everything is nonsense. Like, you really think that he couldn't, like the East Germans and the Soviets couldn't get to the moon, really? But some American cowboys could? He's like, yeah, right. His wife started to laugh too. It's like, yeah, all right, fair enough. Like, that's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous. I don't know why I believe that. Like, it's Hollywood. Oh, yeah, that's right. I watched the movie about it. So, I mean, I don't know. I think everyone's getting to the point where if you think about it at all and you have any practical understanding of it, you can't believe it unless you're incentivized. And if someone's incentivizing you, like, like, who are you going to vote for? Well, who's paying me? You know what I mean? Like, that's
but then all I can say, if that's your stance, if you do interview Will Duffy, which I think would be amazing, and I only hope he's up for it. I would love to understand more what he understood. Maybe he mentioned some. I didn't watch all his interviews, but I would really love to follow the logic, because everything I ever researched from whoever seemed to be interesting and thorough in their research in the different independent individuals, German or American, whatever, it was just like, how should I say, truckloads of evidence that suggested that the official story or whatever footage is not exactly as presented, and never anything to the contrary. So I'm really wondering what kind of research he stumbled across, or I don't know how to say.
Yeah, right. Like, did he get to meet him? Did he get to meet the aliens? Is that what he's saying? Like, he's got to be saying that, right?
Yeah, probably. You can meet the aliens, but then you have to say it's a very limited space. You can't go anywhere, and there's nothing to see beyond whatever there could be beyond.
And
so
they're gonna rape you.
Yeah, well, let's not go. Let's
be real. Let's be real.
Let's not go there.
Be careful out there. It's not safe in space.
It all starts to make sense, I'm afraid. Yes. So anyhow, just wanted to bring that up, that this has really raised the bar now for these discussions, and hopefully makes more people interested in it, and just, make their own observations. Because even then, individuals I even know that made whatever simple test they can make over lakes and so on. Yeah, I don't know. It's a big mystery. What can I say? So yeah, we can, if you want to go on, we can go on to the health thing. And then there's a bit more reset stuff.
Where do I go?
You go, yeah. So her we had already. Oh yeah, this now you're starting from the bottom again, but that's okay.
Where do we want me? I'll just type in health. Health. Here we go.
Yes. So the first thing is the hippie doctor that quits, the guy with the mustache. And basically, this is just a very short clip. I have even no idea who he is exactly, but just basically explaining how he realized how the system was working against the actual health of the individuals. I think it should even say it here.
The child was barely hanging on, asked if she was insured. That was a crime. I quit my residency because I wouldn't put up with that kind of behavior anymore. Couldn't work there. It wasn't what I had. Yeah, basically when they say without insurance, they're not going to treat you. But, that's against the Hippocratic Oath. So he's right to say that.
Yeah, and then the next link is just a simple documentary from Germany. It says Goldgrube Altenheim, which basically means gold mine old people's home, which just explains how much money.
Not available in my country.
Wow, I wonder.
Here, why don't you open it on your side of the screen?
There's not too much to see there, anyways. But it's just about the basic concept, and I think this is even
Guys, get a VPN, you can watch it.
Yeah, and I think it's even cross-connected to American companies and hedge funds and so on, like this is a good business. And why this is relevant in a civilization sense, number one, it gives the excuse, even to some minor extent reasonable, we need so many ignorance. Yeah, we need many ignorance, but immigrants in Europe or wherever, because we can't replace them and so on. But also just this idea of having such a completely atomized Yuval Noah Harari, I don't know, you would eat sebak society. This, of course, is, how should I say, this is because society is falling apart in a sense, because everyone is atomized. The child is in the kindergarten, the parents have to work, and the grandparents are locked away somewhere. Ultimately, it's incredibly more expensive. It's much more stressful. It's not really healthy not to have a family or anybody you can rely on. And who wins is some crazy corporations, because they ideologically brainwashed everyone that this is such a good idea. And if you're living with your family or something, what, you don't have your own house? Look at you. And now everyone who actually did that, most likely, they have $1 million in student debts, and you see what I'm saying, right? So
Right.
it's I think this is a big thing actually with old people. I think in Japan they have similar issues. At least here, I think their insurance system is a bit differently structured from what I had heard about once. But yeah, I think the idea of how to reintegrate all the individuals into society, and this is very related to health, of course, because the way it's structured now, you get slowly poisoned for 50 years and you work until you're so stressed out, then of course your system is going downhill for 20 years, and you need the support of whatever specialized, super expensive insurances and healthcare. Instead of, if people would stick together a little bit more, I can well imagine it would be a lot less stressful, a lot cheaper, and a more comfortable life. Only difference would be that whoever hedge funds and so on are making money off of these schemes right now wouldn't be making so much money anymore. But I think it's really a sad state.
Wow, the inspiration for the Monopoly game. That sounds way cool.
You didn't hear about this?
No, I never played this.
I also never played it, so I'm not sure if it's if this is written down here as well. But from what I had heard on comments,
this is clearly based. The Monopoly game is clearly based on this.
But the real thing is that there are two games. So one is called Landlord's Game, and the other one is called Prosperity. And in Prosperity, the rules are different. And I'm sure most children or whatever would rather be playing the Prosperity type version. I forgot how it works exactly, but it's like you're redistributing the money or something like this. And it's much more fun. Anti-monopolist. Here it says anti-monopolist. And then it's the memory. Here. So two different rules. Anti-monopolist. Anti-monopolist rules reward all players during wealth creation. In the anti-monopolist or single tax version, later called Prosperity, the game is won when the player with the least money doubles their original stake. I mean, think about that. And just think about how many unnecessarily frustrated sessions you've had with that game, because it's almost like a badly designed video game with these runaway effects. I think, yeah.
Because I love Monopoly.
I'm sure, but the randomness factor is not enough to like tilt it back once it has gone a certain way. And how many children or how many family afternoons would have been a lot more fun and give a better atmosphere if it was about cooperating in that game rather than only presenting the one type of game rules. I mean, don't tell me they couldn't have afforded to insert another small leaflet to be like, oh, by the way, you don't want to frustrate your 5-year-old child for no reason? Try that version. You know,
how are they going to learn to compete in this world if they can't play Monopoly,
of course,
right?
Yes, thank you. But this is like, so how much more obvious can social engineering be? I wouldn't know.
In the single tax version, anti-monopolist is also called the single tax version. Yeah, well, I mean, we're gonna have to get a copy. I'll print this out. We should play this at some point online as a group. That seems like a good game to play. Anti-monopoly. I mean,
but I mean, at least Monopoly teaches you about the real state of the world. So
right. I mean, it's interesting looking at the patent of it. Look at the patent. The center of the patent has this Melchizedek star.
Mm-hmm.
Order of Melchizedek is the only thing with the right to tax. All taxes are in the hands of Melchizedek.
With all the robber barons around 1900, even in official history, it makes perfect sense. They simply had their fun time a few years, and then they said, oh, let's make a game about it. And then 70, 80, 100 years later, children can play it, and they can realize why the world is the way it is, because this slight tinge where you can tell, oh, someone's owning 60% of the board, he's going to own everything, already occurred at least 100 years ago.
Yeah, but this is a smaller scale, because instead of saying you're going to build, you know, like maybe you have a building that you have all of the services in, and you don't have to pay for them because you have your own sustainable fiefdom, right? So this landlord's game is to attain a fiefdom, and there's enough room for many people to have fiefdoms. But in Monopoly, it's the United States. There's only one Park Place. You know, that's kind of the idea. And so you get to a point of monopolizing power that's beyond a fiefdom. So I don't know. I think this is a good game. I don't think Monopoly is as good as what this is. This landlord's game sounds great.
Yeah, I never played it, but I thought it would be fun to bring up. And especially this prosperity version also, which conveniently was...
Stefan's in. Got to do it. Let's play that game. All right. What about the Rheinweissen Lager?
Oh, yeah. This is, again, a turn for the super dark. I think I brought this up once before in relation with Bletchley Park and the PSYOP operations from the UK directed at Germany. Again, this is all official history. And just here, just pointing out, I mean, what's already even strange here, it says 19 on the very front. But still, so I heard this from different sources. Obviously, also I wasn't there, but simply to everyone to investigate also what happened just after, I guess, the war was concluded, that you had many, many, many Germans in this case, from what I can understand, standing around in the fields and not being treated very well and potentially, starving and all kinds of things. Just in terms of how to do psychological trauma that is completely unnecessary at that point, of course, and where you can also see it's never really about defeating this or that, but it's about defeating the populace through whatever way.
You know about the Parade of the Vanquished, right?
Maybe I heard of this, but I'm not sure.
So every German should tell every child in Germany about this. The Defeat Parade, a march of German prisoners of war on July 17th, 1944 into Moscow. The parade was a result of the ongoing Operation Bagration of the Eastern Front. During World War II, large numbers of German troops were held captive by the Soviets, and the operation was considered a turning point of the war, representing the largest loss of German troops. Approximately 57,000 captured troops were chosen, organized, and paraded through Moscow. These men were among the most healthy to make the march, as close to half of the total losses for Germany during the operation came from 160,000 troops dying on the march to Soviet prison camps. So the parade was used by Soviet leaders to demonstrate the success of the operation. Freaking nuts. Completely and you can still watch it because it's the Soviets. So the Soviets have the most gnarly propaganda campaign. And, no one was seen again. Like 15 to 30-year-old guys, or 15 to 50. Imagine, because at the end of the war, almost all the able-bodied people, a lot of them were dead. So you're drafting teenagers and you're drafting old men, and you've got anybody who survived left. This is, all of them just unsung. Not like they could vote, not like they had any political aspirations or ideas. These are just These are just dudes. So yeah, I mean, granted, at the time, this is just considered like war crime stuff, and so there's no, there's no way to, like every other country, the Soviet Union, United States, Japan, etc. They'll have memorials, right? But you can't have memorials for them because the side was the Nazis. So like, of course, even though they're just soldiers,
this is even a political topic today when any conservative, or of course then painted as right-wing extremist, and I'm apolitical anyways, but they sometimes do these kind of things, and then always everyone else is like, oh my God, like how could you? And yeah, I mean, of course, they were also someone's family. So
yeah, it's like all I'm trying to say.
I know, but
this is a kid who gets picked up and is like killed. It's not justified on any level. I mean, it sucks that there's like war. I mean, it sucks everything that happens, but this isn't justified. Revenge isn't really justified, and it's like, again, this isn't revenge against people that were running camps or something like that. These are just kids that were picked up and forced, to the front lines. Is the name of Michelangelo a stand-in for Satan? I don't think so. I usually go with Samuel. I'm curious why you think Michael would be.
What's interesting, and this is something that Didier Lacapelle showed, who also did a great presentation here on Neuropa on your channel, Xirtus. He actually showed from a Russian museum, whereas it appears, I hope I'm not making this up now, but this is the connection I have in my head right now. Basically, that Michael could even be a stand-in for Mohammed.
Yeah, I can see that. I think because Michael and Gabriel, but in Mormonism, the angels are the pre-souls of men, and so the idea that the angels have become human, like the archangels have become human and have ascended again, is also a thing. And with Muhammad, he meets Gabriel, right, which is the trumpet blower, very similar to Moroni blowing a trumpet. So there's something to the idea also of the angel. I just don't think, like Satan, the idea that Michelangelo is an accuser, I see Samuel as the accuser. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that Samuel really plays that part. Like if you look up Samuel, hold on, you can see that picture of him, I mean, first off, the Gnostics, get Memory Man on here, he'll tell you. But like Jacob wrestling with the angel Samael, right? There's something about that idea of Samael is like the angel of, associated with like destruction and death and all this other stuff as well. But also kind of a beautiful angel and a seraph. Accuser, adversary, Satan in the book of Job. That's usually why I would associate it. But you could have multiple angels be Shaitan, right? Because like there's a war, bro.
Yeah, like S-H-I-T.
What about the Jesuits? Just kidding.
So this is interesting. Why did I bring this up? Maybe in terms of a model, how to make a successful YouTube channel.
Because you like Irish people. That's what it is.
All right, no, because there is, even here you see Dark World of Mega Churches. Just interesting.
I have to start doing this. Like basically, if I don't put my face on every thumbnail on the side of it like that, then it doesn't get watched, I guess.
I'm not sure if that's what it is, but anyhow, this guy figured it out how to make and they're well produced, like half an hour, 1 hour videos. I think I watched the Mega Church one, was pretty entertaining. And yeah, or even here, doing stuff like that. So
did he talked about the crypto thing, but he didn't talk about like the symbolism or Wittgenstein or did he talk about the white supremacy thing or anything like that? No?
Well,
no?
I'm pretty sure he wouldn't have done a
5 million views, wasn't allowed to talk about it.
That's another
Chronology of Ancient Kingdoms is amended. Historical chronology written by Sir Isaac Newton, first published posthumously in 1728. Yeah, I like this one.
Maybe I had brought this up before, but just to point out that even in official history, the first guy of the new chronology is Isaac Newton, which in itself, in my book by now already is suspicious because of the dating and the timing and everything, 1728. But just to anyone who maybe wants to hate on Fomenko, be like, well, look at this Newton guy who apparently even in modern science is so important or whatever. So, yeah.
Chronology of Ancient Kingdoms amended. That seems like a good title. Good job, bro.
Oh yeah, so here,
pyramids.
Just to bring an example, so this is at least a part of the thing you can do today. because then people say, oh, can you do this? Can you do that? So, okay, at least you can carve out a stone like this with modern tools. Yeah. So
Oh yeah,
just
for
because it's always the question, you know, how much expertise would you need? Is
Yeah,
it only because
I
brutalist
like that this guy's
architecture?
a Chad. Yeah. Hold on. Where's the Italian handmade sculptures? Still making. The Italian artist still making sculptures in isolation. My bruh, this guy right here does just, he's incredible, dude. And you can do it. It can be done. One can do it. One can make it happen. It can be done. So he starts with, wait, is this the fiberglass one? No. That's not the right one, dude. Carving, still carving by hand. Ancient way. I think there's a guy here who does it. I don't know. I've seen some videos of people doing it now where like there you go. Here we go. Yago. There is Yago. This guy, dude. Self-taught artist Yago. He's so good. And what he does also, he has like, so you can measure with these like tools and carve out. Look at that. Look at the quality of the skin in the stone, right? There you go. So yeah, I mean, this could be done. I mean, people act like it can't be done. It can't. And not using like even super modern tools, right? Like these are all tools that they had essentially. Even if it's like on a motor now, it could have just been on a pedal before, like the spinning things and like. But yeah, look at the skin. So pretty sweet.
But then today, how many people work on that level, would you say?
No, I think he's like the only one, dude. Like that's the thing. But back then it was like that too. There'd be like 1,000 people. There's just a lot less people, and then the people who did it would have an apprentice. So for what, a few hundred years, you know, like for 200 years, maybe you've got people that are doing this, and then the skills are kind of they're brought to the new world, and then they're lost. Like there's some people that don't do it anymore in Europe, and then there's some people that continue doing it in Argentina.
Don't do it anymore, yeah.
Well, no, I mean, in Europe, it's like you've got wars and you've got the end of all the countries that were doing things like that ended in the 18th century, in the 19th century. So you've got completely new Europe, right? Like Europe is newer than the United States. And a lot of the people who knew how to do things escaped or died, or there was like a disruption of industry. And so a lot of these arts that were continuous, like stained glass windows and sculptures and things like that, they weren't being done for the 20 to 30 or 40 years between like 1870, 1890 to 1924, you know, even like when there was capacity to do those things, it was being shut down. So by the 20th century, it was over in Europe. Like you don't see that kind of art being made anymore. And then after World War II, the destruction of Dresden and all these places, you know, you still don't see those windows properly patched in, right? Like they still have just, yeah. I think ideologically, you don't have people that even want to see that anymore either. So, but you go to Argentina, right? And you go to like Bariloche and you'll see stained glass windows that look like something out of, you know, 19th century Prussia being made in 1940s, 1950s, because these are people that have all escaped Germany and are, you know, they still have artistic skills. They have artisans that they've come with them, and they, you know, like that exists, but it's moved.
How much deliberate destruction of skill and beauty?
As much as possible.
Appalling. Yeah. Okay, I think we're almost through. Let's see what else is there.
Oh, this guy does. Oh no, I opened that. I thought you pulled it up, and I was like, wait, you already had a video on it. And here's our dreamboat, David Ewing Jr. DEJ. We should make a video cover that looks like American military secret agency. This is like Department of Energy and Justice, DEJ, and just be like DEJ, you know, and that might lure people in to watch it. Like, you know, did you guys see what the DEJ did this week? And then just put that up.
Yeah, so I guess I just brought this up because everyone should go watch this, and it's on your channel. So, yeah, and because you had recently made it, that's the most recent interview that Andreas did with David, and even because I watched the recent interview we did with Leo Zagami, which of course is also great, and you even brought this up to him, I saw. at least the whole this symbolism.
Right.
I hope he looks into it, but let's see how this information will trickle down further. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next one is also, this is on Nachiketa's channel. Also shout out, also did a great job interviewing him. And yeah, there's a similar video also on my channel, basically where David is, however, showing how important it is to be very diligent with the translations, you know, where does the dictionary come from, who actually wrote it for you. And it just seems, as he's shown in many presentations, I'm sure with you as well, many presentations on my channel also, that it just seems very often colonials have been playing around. And at least in one example, he even shows very clearly how you have Corpus Quran or something where supposedly you should have the proper wording of the Quran online. But then you hear to them sing, and you can clearly tell they're just start to add syllables and this and that. So it's a complete mess, but that just reinforces the idea that there is something relevant within that book or some relevant information. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many people obfuscating it. Or now with the so-called Quranists, many people then sometimes, you know, making up their own meanings and so on. And yeah, it's one thing, how should I say, to research and maybe speculate. But then when people maybe make claims and so on, then they can always say, oh, I found this great revelation and so on. But oftentimes maybe lacking the context. Yeah, it's a bit of a convoluted thing, but it seems to really be able to understand what this means. It would be important to speak with as many people as possible that speak as many local dialects as possible to really understand the potential meaning, let's say, of the Quran. So yeah, that's more from David. Then here, this is a recommendation from Manifestopheles, whom we've had on last week, because we were, of course, talking about star forts. You've had 13th Monkey on, I've had him on, and this is, I guess, just a map for Greece. If people want to check out Greek castles and do some research, that was recommended by Manifestopheles to take a look. Yeah, end of the world we had, that's more from Manko. And this is a strange channel I recently discovered. See already. This is basically...
I wish to proceed.
Access denied. This is basically just showing strange correlations, I guess, between military families, different incidents, and so on. I forgot again, someone somewhere recommended this, and I was like, oh, let's check it out. And it seems like, yeah, there's relevant information here. Like, oh, and actually go to the website. On the very first link should be the website. Yeah, some projects, because here you have like a list and people can just look at this themselves. I don't know many of those cases because I'm not American or something, or I didn't research it that deeply. But it's very interesting. And so it seems where people potentially were set up, or where, you know, abuse and drugs were in play, strange agencies. Maybe some of these cases are more popular. Maybe some people know of some of them. But yeah, because this is, of course, another tool to make people scared. Or even they put it on the website, I think also they say, yeah, everyone knows what the profile, quote unquote, of a serial, let's call assassin is. Because everyone knows it through the movies or through the TV series. Again, even in Austria and Germany, you can't imagine how many late night Law and Crime, Law and Order, New York, Miami, CSI, God knows what, playing up and down for decades. Yeah. So this may just be another tool for, how should I say, societal control, or make certain things happen and then make them appear differently to further certain political agendas, even if it is just simple things like everyone knows.
Ooh, Kemper from Santa Cruz.
Oh,
I just watched Lost Boys last night, and I was telling the Jan's daughters, because they're talking about the vampire thing. It's like, yeah, well, Santa Cruz was the serial killer capital of the world. And I was like, I didn't want to go too deep into it, but I was thinking about Ed Kemper, because David Plate's dad knew and went to high school with Ed. And Ed does audiobooks at the, the prison. Which one is it again? San Quentin Institute, insane asylum prison, whatever, like the serious one. And yeah, he seems like, when you hear recordings of him now, like, he doesn't seem like the kind of guy who would like cut off his mom's head and like random hitchhiker girls and, you know, the etc. But he did. So also just a bunch of people that were like, they thought that there would be earthquakes if they didn't coat the soil, soak the soil with blood. They thought like the soil needed blood or else like earthquakes would hit. California.
Let's say that is correct. Yeah, California.
Let's just say, yeah.
How do you get to believe something like that? You know. So
Santa Cruz serial killers. Let's find him real quick. I'm sure he's on that list. Is that the one? Did it instantly Google? You got to chill out. We can't just. Was that Google? No, it was Microsoft. Okay, Microsoft. I know you're listening.
I'm like, why do you even have to type it out? Shouldn't it just be like suggested tab?
Yeah, we're almost there. By next year, Copilot, dude. By next year, Copilot will do that. Herbert, it'll probably be like, hey, don't you remember that thing you were thinking about yesterday? It'll do like that's what it's gonna do. Was an American serial killer who killed 13 people in California in the early 1970s. He confessed to the killings, which he claimed prevented earthquakes. So I mean, you know, it's not all bad. In 1973, after a trial to determine whether he was legally insane or culpable, he was convicted of 2 murders in the first degree and 9 in the second degree. What? And sentenced to life imprisonment. Well, you know, it was really the earthquake's fault. Like, what do you mean second? During his imprisonment, he was denied parole 8 times. Edmund Kemper and Mullen overlapped in their 72-73 murder sprees, adding the confusion to the police investigation and ending with both being arrested with a few weeks of each other after the deaths of 21 people. Yeah, Santa Cruz, serial killer capital of the world. People are like, really? There's another one? This town. So born in Salinas, his father was reportedly stern but not abusive. Not long before Mullen's 5th birthday, the family moved to San Francisco, had a numerous friends at school, was voted most likely to succeed when he was 16 by the class at San Lorenzo Valley High School, which is in Felton's beautiful Redwood area. He also experienced a difficult time due to his paranoid schizophrenic disorders, which I question all of this, by the way. Shortly after they graduated from SLV in 1965, one of Mullen's friends, Dean Richardson, was killed in a car accident. Oh, that triggers. He built shrines to Richardson in his room and became obsessed with the idea of reincarnation. Wow. Mullen was admitted to the Mendocino State Hospital in 1969. Over the next few years, he entered various mental hospitals, but was discharged after spells as being no harm to himself or others. In total, he was committed to 5 mental hospitals by the time he was in his mid-20s. He had diagnosis of paranoid schizophrenia accelerated by his usage of LSD and cannabis. Now, when they say LSD, let's remember, this is, 1969 Santa Cruz, California, where you have access to not just LSD. You have SPT, you have DOB, you have all sorts of weird drugs that people are calling acid, right? And your cannabis might have been soaked in PCP or some weird drug. A lot of things were really weird.
Everything that's restricted to the hospital, whatever they could possibly concoct.
For sure.
Applied for by whoever.
Because he's been put in a mental institution and he's been arrested. And so when you're arrested in California, you go to the Folsom State Folsom Hospital, they'll put you out in good behavior if you let them experiment on you, especially in the 60s. This is what I'm talking about. Like, so they were letting CIA and different agencies were testing SPT and QB or whatever the heck it's called. QB is the one where literally they gave it to soldiers and they never recovered. They were just, there were like stories like, weeks later, 6 weeks later, I saw him standing there taking a shower in his uniform, smoking a cigar, like they're gone. Like crazy stuff happened to people that took the QB, and they were giving that to people in the Atlanta prison, and they were giving that to people in the San Quentin prison. They're giving that to people in the Folsom prison. So, I mean, there's probably more, but like the idea that celebrities who were arrested, like Johnny Cash and other, like if you look into like certain celebrities who were forced to go to the Folsom prison and how they might have gotten out on good behavior, it might have been also like that they were given, research chemical, investigation. So by 1972, he was 25 years old. He moved with his parents in Felton into the Santa Cruz Mountains. April 18th was his birthday and the anniversary of the 1906 San Francisco earthquake. Okay. Which also, if you remember from the Lost Boys movie, is like where the vampires live in Hotel California. It's a vampire hotel that's buried because the fault line of California opened up because Santa Cruz is like sacred crossing. We call it Holy Cross. But really, it means sacred crossing, and it has an even more ancient connotation of being on the fault line. And so the idea that there was a California hotel that was destroyed. Anyway, he thought it was very significant. Mullen believed that the Vietnam War had produced enough American deaths to forestall the earthquakes as a blood sacrifice to nature, but that the war was winding down by late 1972 from an American perspective. He would need to start killing people in order to have enough deaths to keep a calamitous earthquake away. It was for this reason, he later said, that his father, through telepathy, had ordered him to take lives. October 13th, 1972, Mullen beat 55-year-old vagrant Lawrence Whitey. White's head was with a baseball bat when the transient looked at the engine of his 1958 Chevy station wagon after Mullen had pretended to have a car trouble and pulled over to open the hood. White had offered to help fix his car in exchange for a ride. Mullen dragged White's body into the woods where it was found the next day. He later claimed his victim looked like Jonah from the Bible and sent him telepathic messages. Hey, man, pick me up and throw me over the boat. Kill me so that others will be saved, he thought he said. Mullen soon set out to commit a second murder with the intent to both test his hypothesis and the environment was being rapidly polluted, and to follow a command hallucination of his father's voice directed to make him make another sacrifice. So this goes on and on. He goes to Cabrillo College. He finds a student who's running late for an appointment, offers a lift, stabs her in the chest, disembowels. He's trying to pour the blood everywhere. And this is just eventually he joined the United States Marine Corps in an attempt to legally conduct what he perceived as a mission, but was barred entry when he refused to sign his criminal record. I think that's when they started kind of recognizing. He stopped taking drugs completely, started blaming the faults in his life on previous substance abuse. He started to locate his former friend who introduced him to cannabis. I think he kills them. Yeah, a lot of deaths going on here. There's looking to be 13 more deaths. So, but yeah, basically over 4 months, he killed like 13 people. It's pretty crazy. And then they're like, why? And he's like, well, because otherwise there'll be an earthquake. I got to stop the earthquakes, right? And so then they arrested him and stopped him from doing this. He's like, dude, you don't understand. If you don't let me do this, if I can't put blood on the soil, there's going to be this horrible, horrible earthquake. It might take a few years, but it's going to be just the worst possible thing. And they're like, sure, buddy, whatever. And then we had the San Andreas fault quake. He's like, I told you so. Like all of yeah.
Yeah, I mean, given we don't know the exact extent of prediction of these natural events or artificiality of natural events, it can be a combination of.
I mean, I don't think that soaking the soil with blood is going to help, but like it is kind of a funny coincidence. Yeah, that would be what I would.
Well, but the thing is, if I have the right vibration machine, I'll make people crazy and then even make it come true if I want to. So that's just what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. That one. He died 2 years ago. Dang, bro.
For some reason, I thought that's like a post stamp. But
it does kind of look like it should be. In California, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I don't know if I have much else to say. The only other thing is
there are definitely more links you had. We could look at a couple more. Hold on.
I think we're almost through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. That's good. Well, today's Wednesday. I'm gonna do Wednesday Ultra later today. Didn't I just see one? There was one right there. Dar Raz 25. I don't think you showed this one.
Oh yeah, that's maybe just another channel to check out, because I'm adding them all to the list, right? Because talking about Moorish America, I still have to check it out properly. But since so very few channels even mention this topic at all,
yeah,
I always bookmark them.
Oh, this looks good. It's got a lot of views too.
And even you have like what I see in Moorish America, you have the Shriner connection also, so they also point that out. Oh, even here, astronaut Buzz Aldrich. See, there you go.
We got to go deeper into the Shriners because Leo talked about the Shriners a bit, and like it was interesting. I don't know where he's coming from anymore because I don't know if he's become a Muslim or something or like what it is. He sounds like he's getting more like like Ewing also talks about Islam a lot, so I don't know where Leo's at, but he was trying to say like he didn't consider the Shriners to be true Muslims. And I think I want to like test that to an extent because I think of, Degrassi, Islam, LGBT. There's that scene, man. Or, you know, there's this great scene in Degrassi Next Class. I know you all watch Canadian soap operas for teenagers, right? So you're caught up. I don't need to.
Yeah, totally.
I don't no spoilers.
I like
but,
the UN logo in the back. What's going on
my
here?
God! So this is one of my favorite shows ever of all time. These are like some people watch The Days of Our Lives. I will watch Degrassi until I'm like.
It's like what? Why they have a flat Earth map in the classroom?
Bro, there's so much going on in Degrassi. It's the greatest show ever. But basically, they have like the Arabic Islamic alliance, and then they have the LGBTQ club, and there's not enough space on campus, right? So they end up having them share the same like classroom, right? They have a LGBT club and a Muslim club in the same room. This is Canada. It's freaking brilliant. You know what I mean? And so like the idea that like you can't force integration is just not very British. You know, that's all I'm saying. So I don't know. This is amazing. This is one of the greatest things that's ever happened. Like this is Canada trying to this is demonstratively Canadian. I just love this show. But yeah, I think that Shriners can be Muslims. You know what I mean?
Well,
that's all I'm trying to say.
Look, honestly, it's very simple.
Like where we're going, Shriners can be Muslims. I'm telling you, it's going to be crazy.
It's true that they use what they found and at the same time are interested in creating a system to obfuscate, then yeah, I would also create a 33, 108, or 360 degrees where I tell people all kinds of stories. And then at the very top, maybe start telling them, oh, look, by the way, this is where we stole everything from. And we're going to dress up in this and that way now. But still, I would believe that they would still not really get the gist of whatever they had there before. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me.
Lucy, you didn't know Degrassi existed? What? When I meet a Canadian, the first thing I say to them is, I love Degrassi. It's like, honestly, it's like, can you sign something? Because like you come from the place where they made Degrassi. Degrassi is, you got to understand Degrassi. Like, let me give you, I know like this is not what you care about yet because you don't understand. But like, if you go back to 1980s and you start to see the original Degrassi and you realize that this show goes on forever, this is like a cross between, this is a cross between Tavistock Mind Control and that Jim Carrey movie, you know, The Truman Show. Because everybody in this show, they stay in this show forever. Like once you're in, you're in for life. So like
she's playing the grandmother now. What you're saying,
bruh? Like they're like unless you die in like a car crash or something horrible, what'll end up happening is that you'll be a teen pregnancy. Your child will grow up on the show. That child will go to Degrassi Junior High and you'll be its mother. And then that child, just like you guessed, like we'll have a child on the show. It's been going on for 40 some odd years.
Finally, at least you have a lifelong commitment or a lifelong job, you know? I mean,
oh, dude, the dude who played the high schooler in the first season, Snake, is now the director of the show. This guy here, this blonde guy here, he's the director of the show now. He's become Neo. Like it's full integration, bro. I don't know. You gotta see every episode. There's thousands. It's crazy.
I think so.
Oh my God. I mean, like, hey, I don't watch 90210. I don't know. I didn't see every episode of Saved by the Bell. No. Like I'm telling you, Degrassi. You want to see school shootings? You want to see suicides? You want to see kids jumping off bridges on drugs? You want to see teen pregnancies? You want to see real life, what it's like to be like? I feel like this is so much like more relatable than any other high school show, junior high show. You've got immigrant parents that are just struggling to get by. You've got these rich jerks. You've got, I mean, there's just everything in this. It is a PSA from the Canadian Department of Health or something. I don't know. God, I love that show. All right. Sorry. That's my pitch.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Would you say that the show is ahead of its time, or would you say it correctly depicts the time for
both?
Canada?
Both. Mm-hmm. Absolutely both. Both. Canada was ahead of its time.
Well, that's the other question, because Canada already has been the progress stronghold, then of course they want to broadcast into the world, let's say, of
Canada progress. Okay, in the 1980s, America was kind of reaping the benefits, like reaping the fields, right? And so you had a lot of people that were saturated with wealth and people that were struggling, and there was there's more and more. You can see how it led to now. There's more and more dynamic. There's a lot of excess, so people were living pretty well off Wonder Bread, whatever. But you go to Canada. Canada was a newly built society that was founded in 19th century infrastructure, but they had built new infrastructure. And all of a sudden you had new immigrants coming into Canada. So you had people from all over the world, people from every country that couldn't get into the United States that were dealing with, Soviet or, war or whatever, people that were chased out, people that were doctors, lawyers, scientists, engineers were chased out into Canada. And, it was interesting, the kinds of people that that led to, and what kind of new culture, because everyone was in a ground floor. I feel like in the 70s and 80s in Canada was like a ground floor that we're building up again with new infrastructure, new wealth, new systems, right? So it was also punk rock and all that other stuff, like all the social things that people care about, like all these leftist causes, like they're first intimated in the 80s. People saying, well, I want to be careful about animal testing on the makeup that I use, or like maybe I'm okay with animal testing for certain kinds of medicines, like the scale or how is it done, like these weird questions that were being asked. You don't see those, like who asked about animal testing in like an American soap opera. So I feel like it's a good show.
So also, maybe I brought this up before, there's a strange correlation between the US and Canada in relation to Germany and Austria. Just in terms of it's roughly 1/10 of the population. Of course, the landmass area for Germany, Austria is much smaller.
Yeah.
But to have like this strange, Austrians, I don't know, they are generally depicted as, well, hospitable, I guess, friendly. Well, depends. But yeah, I just thought it's interesting that you have this. It really just depends, because on the one you would say, oh, very hospitable. On the other way, you would say, oh, there is this type of humor and whatever. But generally, let's say they are regarded as a bit more sociable than Germans, actually.
Yeah.
Which I'm not sure this would match for Canada. But anyhow,
except for Swabians.
Yeah, well, this, and then, but even just overall, this strange idea, like, why do you have this all nation partitioning, and then even already individuals would speak practically exactly the same language, and still you artificially partition them off? Of course, I'm sure there's a good official historic reason, because the Queen or the King didn't want to secede the north part. Or how did Canada even officially get away with this? I don't even know the story, so I'm completely ignorant. But
I mean, they're still part of the. They're still part
why
of
is Canada British. Not simply part of America, of the US? I mean,
it's because so it's a better question is, why did Britain permit the United States to happen? Because the United States isn't like, oh, we won a war, like it's stupid to pretend that. Like we had Thomas Paine's anti-disestablishmentarianism and Common Sense Manifesto, which was really popular in Britain, and they started realizing that to have an effective trading partner in the West, it would make more sense for America to be a corporatist alliance rather than run by colonialist monarchy led to nepotism. They just
realized this type of communist capitalism is more effective than
no, it's Dutch corporatism. They just wanted to. Dutch corporatism was already functioning that way, and the King of England, Charles, had Charles II had lived in the Netherlands, and so he was completely pro-Dutch in a lot of ways. Like he thought of the Dutch as like, and they were better. They are better, like if you look at Holland compared to England, it's like there's a lot of reasons why culturally it was cleaner, it was more tolerant. They allowed for, it was just a different kind of society altogether. So the British were realizing, hey, we can't necessarily trust our complete new government. What if we, try part of it? Like so there's a line drawn. Right, we're not going to have anything above here be, part of this like the Virginia Corporation kind of project. That will still be Canada. Like Canada will still be part of the European, like part of the Royal British Empire. And there were several times where the United States, I think, intimated and tried to attack Canada, and we're just like, there's a wall of Canadian red suited Brits in the snow and with horses, and they just turned around. Like, there was no way, right? America could not. I mean, seriously, America could not. And so I find that interesting. People don't really talk about that very much, but there's several points in history where we're like, all right, we're not going to get Canada. It's just not going to happen. And Canada was already, there's a lot more to Canada that I don't completely understand with the relationship between the royal Catholic, because Charles had been baptized secretly as a Catholic, which this is completely against the British rules and against the Sophia Naturalization Act. But Canada has this huge section which is French. And I think that's essentially because of the Jesuits. Like the Jesuits, through Charles, were trying to figure out what they could do to keep in power during Jesuit suppression period. And so they had checks and balances. Jesuits were never banned in the United States, and they had super strong power centers in Canada. So obviously, like French, Canadian, Jesuit metaphysics, all that stuff, it's like as important as Iranian Sufism is probably French, Canadian, Jesuit metaphysics. It's some of the most important stuff in the world, but it's isolated and safe. And it's in a language that not everybody speaks in the region. I think that's part of what makes Canada the way it is, right? But they've also realized, like what works and what doesn't work. Because Australia is similarly like at a certain point where they allowed Australia to have certain amounts of self-determination. It didn't work out. The Queen fired the parliament and then put in a new government, right? So like they know they have to just kind of student body. They just sort of run things for the way they're told.
Yeah, that's what it seems like in many places these days.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I think that's all in terms of somewhat structured information I have to present.
This is Snake. His name is Snake. That's what they called him. Imagine the high school principal. He's also the principal. So, okay, he was.
Oh, he's a student, and he turns in teacher, then a principal, and now he's running the show, or what? Or is it?
Yes, that's it. That's it. My God, bro,
amazing.
You got
amazing.
it. Degrassi Jr. Hi, I love that show. All right, man. Well, I'll see you next time.
All right, thanks fun. Everyone.
Peace out. Wait, which is the video to play? Where is it? Pick one.
Outro one. Let's see.
It's like missing. Oh, there it is right there. No, wait, is it? It's not it. There it is.
This next story has been suppressed by mainstream media. Let's go to Andreas for more.
Everybody, tune in to Recent Tartarians. Recent Tartarians.